Hello, I'm the Trek Lad, and this is my review of Star Trek Discovery's 5th season episode, Whistlespeak. In this latest episode, Burnham and crew continue their search for vital clues that will lead them to the progenitor's tech. It better be worth it. This week, Burnham and Tilly face a big prime directive-sized problem when they encounter a pre-warp society threatened by ecological disaster. Meanwhile, back on Discovery, Culber continues to seek answers following his spiritual awakening. Adira discovers newfound confidence when Rayna assigns them to bridge duty, and Book gets bored and plays video games. A quick heads up, this video will likely contain spoilers, so if you've not yet seen this episode, this might not be the video for you. If you're just looking for my overall thoughts on this episode, you can skip to the timestamp shown here on screen. Let's warp into this. Michelle Paradise wasn't wrong when she teased this as an episode with a classic Trek vibe. Whistlespeak goes hard with some of our old quote-unquote favourite tropes, with an away mission involving aliens with shit on their foreheads that soon descends into another Prime Directive misadventure and dilemma. It's an episode that, to its credit, tries to give us something a bit quieter and more thoughtful from the norm. This does feel like an attempt to give us something in the mould of classic Trek. For some, that might feel like a comforting throwback. For others, it will probably just come across as a lightweight knockoff that once again misses the point. Mileage, par for the course with Discovery, will vary wildly. The bulk of the episode takes place on a planet whose name I've already forgotten, where Burnham and Tilly find themselves taking part in a local ritual which soon takes a dangerous turn. It's nice to see Discovery actually visiting a strange new world and integrating with the locals. For a show whose main protagonist is a xenoanthropologist by trade, I've always found it a bit disappointing that this doesn't happen more. Of course, Discovery has done away missions over its 5-season run, but I don't really remember any of them, with the exception of Season 2's New Eden, another episode that came with a noticeably old-school feel. The planet's inhabitants communicate, at least sometimes anyway, through whistle, which is a fun idea the episode takes plenty of time to set up, but never really pays off in a way that feels satisfying. This is weird given the fact that a song hummed at the end is crucial to Burnham saving the day. Why didn't they reintegrate the whistling language instead of just having this humming? I don't know. It's another question we'll likely never get an answer to. After some wandering around in the forest as well as a pilgrimage/marathon montage, the episode kicks into a more urgent gear when it's revealed the locals plan on sacrificing Tilly to bring the rain to their drought and dust-ridden world. Having learned the technological truth behind the local superstitions, Burnham is faced with a difficult choice: uphold the Prime Directive and let Tilly die, or reveal herself to a pre-warp civilization and risk becoming a god. It's Prime Directive 101, but it doesn't pack anywhere near the same kind of moral or ethical weight that classic episodes have in the past. Compare this to episodes like TNG's Justice, where Picard, much like Burnham, is forced to make a difficult choice: stand by as a member of his crew is killed because he sat on some flowers, or intervene and violate the laws of an alien world, break his oath to Starfleet, and risk conflict with a powerful alien entity. No thanks. Compare this to another TNG episode, Season 3's excellent Who Watches the Watchers, an episode Whistlespeak has clearly taken some inspiration from, where Picard once again struggles to decide the best course of action when the locals begin worshipping him as their god. Compared to episodes like Enterprise's Dear Doctor or the original series' A Private Little War, controversial episodes with impossible scenarios where the answers are always complicated, decisions have massive consequences, and fans are still arguing the toss about them to this very day. The Prime Directive exists to be broken in Star Trek, but breaking it always comes with difficult choices that bring a lot of drama. Here, Burnham doesn't take a second to think about her options and the seismic, potentially world-changing implications of the actions she's about to take. It doesn't feel like she had a difficult choice. It felt easy and inconsequential, and subsequently, it lacked the same dramatic impact as a result. Now we know she'd never let Tilly or any of her crew die, but at least give us that small, internalized moment of pause and doubt. Give Sonequa Martin Green, who I think has been excellent this season by the way, a legitimate reason to break out the quiet anguish and shed a tear. To make matters just that tiny bit worse, I guess she was in fuck it mode at this point, I also think Burnham goes way overboard with her reveal of the truth to the locals. She talks about aliens and not being alone in the universe, shows the lead local a map of his world, and makes suggestions on how their culture changes moving forward. Now I don't know about you, but this doesn't really strike me as something a skilled xenoanthropologist would do. But whatever, I guess. It's a very Discovery take on the Prime Directive, so let's just move on, shall we? Interwoven with the episode's main narrative is a bunch of stuff happening on Discovery. Adira and Rayna have a couple of small moments where the commander, with his usual gruff charms, gives the young ensign some much needed encouragement. Adira hasn't had much to do on this show for what feels like forever now, so I'm pleased to see the character get some much needed attention. Who knows, maybe by the end of the season they'll have more of a character than just Tilly, Mark II. The most interesting of the B-plots is what's going on with Culber, who seemingly, out of nowhere, is going through some sort of spiritual transformation. We get an early scene featuring some kind of AI recreation of his abuela, a recreation he expects to know all of his secrets for reasons that doesn't quite make sense. A holographic recreation of a loved one for therapy purposes is a fantastic idea, probably one of the best I've seen presented on this show in quite some time. Much like the Prime Directive stuff, it's an idea that begs all sorts of questions that I'd love to see the show give some time to exploring. Culber's newfound spirituality is an interesting character development, and I wonder if they might be setting him up to figure a major part in how the season resolves its big questions surrounding the progenitors and their godlike powers of creation. We also get a brief but very welcome cameo from David Cronenberg's Kovich, who hands Burnham the names of the season's MacGuffin scientists on good old-fashioned paper for no reason I can think of other than because he's David Cronenberg. The idea of a pad of paper surviving thousands of years is a bit of a stretch, but who cares? It's David Cronenberg. He probably turned up on set with it and improvised the whole thing. Let the Mad Master do his thing. Interestingly, from his list, the final piece of the clue puzzle map thing belonged to a Beta Z, so prepare yourself. We might be in for Discovery's most emotional episode to date. Whistlespeak is another mixed bag episode of Discovery. It has some good stuff, it's a nice deviation from the usual breathless and brainless action that has come to define the show. It's refreshing to have a modern episode of Trek that doesn't need an overt villain or one of those horribly edited fight scenes for a change. It also gives its supporting characters some small but much needed development that might actually mean we'll miss them when the show ends in a few weeks. But the show also does what Discovery does far too often. It wastes its ideas and so much of its potential through poor creative decisions. It takes brilliant ideas from Trek's rich history and fails to properly repurpose them. What we get here is what we usually get from Discovery, a diet version that lacks any bite or any real weight when compared to the classic Trek that clearly inspired it. Better than last week, but really not by much. I'm giving Whistlespeak a 6 out of 10. It's closer to a 5 than a 7. But what did you think of this episode? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this coming soon. Until next time, I'm the Trek Lad. Live long and prosper.